One of the things that has come to mind when it comes to the genealogies of Jesus are the arguments that are often raised by Rabbinic Jews regarding this issue. It is often asserted that Solomon, as well as David, is required in order for Jesus to be the Messiah. Now, for argument's sake in this video, let's grant that. There are two interesting problems that can be raised regarding this issue that is often overlooked when looking at the genealogies. Now, I know that there are some that make the argument that tribal lineage comes through the mother, but that issue I would need to think about much more carefully. But here are two possibilities which should be considered by those who raise the argument of Solomon. A. If both genealogies in the New Testament are Joseph's, the two lines merged into one line through Zerubbabel himself. And B. If one genealogy is of Mary and one of Joseph, Zerubbabel is where the two lines meet, and they separate into two again. Because often the objection is, because Nathan is in the line of Mary and not Solomon, she's not a descendant of David. But when you read the New Testament carefully, if we take the assumption that both are Joseph's genealogies, they fuse together at Zerubbabel. But if we were to take the assumption that one genealogy is Mary and one is Joseph, Zerubbabel is where the two lines meet and they separate into two again. Thus, Mary is a descendant of David through Zerubbabel. Now, one response that was provided regarding this issue was the following: that if condition A was true and was supported by the New Testament narrative, and if we assume a virgin birth, Joseph's line would be irrelevant for obvious reasons. Mary was most likely a Levite. If we take into consideration the fact that our cousin Elizabeth was mentioned as being a Levite, but either way, if condition A is true, which is supported by most of the New Testament text, then all this demonstrates is that the New Testament writers contradict each other and they have no competent understanding of how tribal lineage is passed down. That's the gist of the argument that was presented. But I fail to see how the New Testament writers would have had no competent understanding of tribal lineage regarding Joseph. Matthew himself was a Jewish author who knew the Old Testament. Now, although Elizabeth was a Levite, Mary is told that she would bear a child who would inherit the throne of David. Now, though I have used the Mary genealogy argument in a previous video, I would think that seeing both genealogies as Joseph's wouldn't present a problem. After all, isn't it the rabbinic contention that tribal lineage is through the male, and that being Jewish is through the female? Also, how does dismissing the New Testament as incompetent deal with my point? Furthermore, Mary was from the lineage of Judah, not from Levi. That's evident from her family tree. And Sam Shamoun, in his article on Jesus being the seed of David, speaks on this issue in greater detail, and I leave you to look at his article regarding the subject. Also, regarding the issue of the virgin birth, why is this even raised as an objection in the first place? Is it possible that a Jew could inherit the blessings of his adoptive father, including the throne of David? If not, why not? I have searched the Torah and have not found an answer. I've read Psalm 89 and 132 regarding the subject of David's son sitting on the throne if they're obedient provided to me by another Jewish person. And that basically, because of the virgin birth, he can't inherit. But this doesn't answer why adoption is not a plausible option. Furthermore, if a Jewish person uses the curse of Jeconiah to deny the messiahship of Jesus, to deny his messianic credentials, this implodes on the rabbis for a number of reasons. Not all Jews use this argument. I like to preface this. They don't use that argument of the curse because they've ceased doing so, but some still use it to this day. Like, for example, the late David Blumoth, and of course, Michael Drazen. Anyway, carrying on. Firstly, there is a video done on YouTube by Nathan H83 where he disputes whether Jesus had the cursed Jeconiah in his family line and proposes that there are two Jeconiahs, two Shealtiels, and two Zerubbabels. I would encourage people to watch that video. Even if Nathan's premise is wrong, the cursed Jeconiah still argument doesn't fly for several reasons. The video by Nathan proposes that Zerubbabel, the one that sat on the throne, is not part of the cursed line and is a different Zerubbabel altogether. However, for argument's sake, let's say it's the same line. Now, although he didn't sit as king, Zerubbabel nevertheless has been made a signet ring by God. Thus, the messianic promise is renewed through him. What is the conclusion, though not made explicit? Jeconiah repented, God accepted the repentance and forgave it, and thus reversed the curse. This is confirmed by Haggai 2:23. It's confirmed by the Talmud in Sanhedrin 37, and of course the Jewish Virtual Library interprets the Talmudic reference in that light. Not that the Talmud is my authority, I'm just simply mentioning that in passing. But anyway, more importantly, the curse is damaging to the rabbinic position more so than the Christian one. If the curse still applies today, and God did not reverse it, then there can be no Messiah at all. Now let's recap the three options before us. Number one, if Nathan's view is correct that there are two of Jeconiah, Shealtiel and Zerubbabel, then Jesus is not in the cursed line, because the Zerubbabel that sits on the throne is not the same Zerubbabel in the cursed line. Thus, the objection of the curse brought by many is moot. Number two, if Nathan is incorrect that the curse was not reversed, there can be no Messiah at all, because of the curse not being reversed, and Jesus not being the Messiah due to the curse is a double-edged sword, or a suicide bomb that destroys not only Christianity, but Rabbinic Judaism as well. 3. If Nathan is incorrect, but the curse is reversed by Jeconiah's repentance, and Zerubbabel is made a signet ring, then Jesus is eligible for the claims to the Davidic throne. Thus, again, the curse is a moot point. Now, of course, Rabbinic Jews often say that since inheritance is passed through the father, and since Joseph was not his father, he can't claim those messianic privileges. But again, I've asked Jews if by adoption this was possible, if it was possible for Jesus to inherit the throne by adoption, but their response was a resounding no. Again, I ask for the life of me, why can't a person be adopted by normal means into a Jewish family and inherit the blessing as a result? Is this an argument for the sake of arguing, or is there a valid law in the Torah that prevents such from happening? Once again, I cannot even implicitly find such a thing in the Torah itself. Even implicitly, I can't find it. Even if the genealogy is through the father only, wouldn't Jesus inherit the throne by adoption? If not, why not? You can't use the curse argument to bolster your case, because that gives Christians leverage. If Joseph carries the curse, then his adoption of Jesus would be valid, because Jeconiah's curse assumes that Jesus is part of the lineage, and also the curse is reversed according to Haggai 2:23. If the curse is not reversed, there cannot be a Messiah at all. Plus you have Nathan's video which suggests that Jesus had a different individual, also called Jeconiah, in his family tree. Thus he would have had no cursed lineage. And again, how would the virgin birth invalidate Jesus inheriting by adoption? That is another thing. This is what I call Rabbinic Dilemma 101. I leave you guys to comment in the description below. Thanks for watching.